The so-called Make America Healthy Again movement, or MAHA, was a key campaign pledge from the president for his overall MAGA base. But some critics argue a recent number of actions by the administration are hurting those very promises. The White House announced it will roll back clean air regulations from power plants and said the FDA would allow companies to state no artificial colors in food, even though products may contain some dangerous substances. Trump also signed an executive order boosting domestic production of a weed killer at the center of thousands of lawsuits. What is going on? Let's bring in MS Now medical analyst Dr. Vin Gupta. So what about the MAHA movement is actually making America healthier again?
Good morning, Mika. I'll start out with a few positives. I will say that this administration is great at marketing. They're focused on ultra-processed foods, all good. And they're using their platform to talk about that. So I, as a clinician, I know myself and my colleagues appreciate that. They're also doing some useful things in digital health. So let's give credit where credit's due. But as you said in the TIA, lots here that is not consistent with their campaign promises when it comes to Make America Healthy. And I should note, RFK Jr., the health secretary, is an environmental attorney by training. And yet his EPA, his peers at the EPA, as you pointed out, are allowing more mercury in the ambient air. What does that mean for our viewers? Mercury in the ambient air, it doesn't sound good, and it's not good for our brain health. It's actually ironically linked to cognitive dysfunction. Kennedy likes to cite Tylenol. You and I have talked about this, Tylenol, vaccines, and linking them to cognitive dysfunction, especially in children, potentially autism-like disorder. Actually, mercury has been proven to cause these types of cognitive impacts, and they're allowing more of it in the air. You talked about artificial dyes, Mika. Nobody thinks artificial dyes in food are good, and they're allowing industry, just like they're allowing industry to allow more mercury in the air. They're siding with industry to allow more, essentially no regulation of food coloring in foods. Nobody thinks that's a good idea. And then lastly, glyphosate. This is an herbicide in high quantities, Mika. Not good for us. I think we can all agree. None of these things sound good for the human body. They just signed the Defense Production Act, the president did, allowing more production of this herbicide. And that was a key pillar of the MAHA campaign, RFK Jr., during his campaign, saying that he was not going to allow that. They're basically siding with industry at every turn.
And Dr. Gupta, a pillar of RFK Jr.'s career as an environmental lawyer, as you pointed out, a few years ago, he won this landmark case against Monsanto that Roundup, the weed killer, was in fact deadly for some people, and that it hurt people, a huge judgment. And now, I mean, that was foundational to who he is as an environmental lawyer, fighting for that. And now he's signing off on its use because of economic reasons or something like that. Also want to ask you about the measles news, Dr. Gupta, that we now have nearly 1,000 cases of measles in this country just in the first 2 months of this year. Can you put that number into some kind of perspective and explain perhaps what Bobby Kennedy Jr. and this MAHA movement may have to do with it?
Yeah, well, I think there's, we've chatted about this throughout 2025. There's about 2,000 plus cases throughout 2025, Willie. That's diagnosed. And, when we think about infectious diseases, a lot of cases, unfortunately, go undiagnosed. Hopefully those aren't serious cases, but that's what we know exists right now. And we're not even a quarter of the way through this calendar year. So who knows what the final toll will be by December. So we're already starting off in a bad position, far worse than 2025, which, by the way, was the worst year on record in the last 30 years. So this is not a good start. To direct line between RFK Jr.'s soft messaging on vaccines and where we're at. Vaccines are by far and away the best way to stanch a potential measles epidemic or outbreak in the community. And you're seeing, hopefully promisingly, a change in leadership at the top. We saw a known vaccine skeptic, Ralph Abrahams, resign yesterday. Hopefully this is the sign of changes to come on messaging. They have a different head of the CDC. A lot of skeptics here about what Jay Bhattacharya can do leading NIH and CDC. They need to get real public health experts back in the CDC. But that's hopefully a promising move, but clearly direct line between their messaging and what's happening.
Yeah, the measles outbreaks, particularly acute in West Texas and South Carolina. Officials keeping a close eye on those outbreaks. MS Now medical analyst, our friend Dr. Vin Gupta. Dr. Gupta, great to see you as always. Thank you.